The keeper of the mighty fortress in the northernmost region of the Tyrant Empire is none other than the Lintbell family, a lineage founded 300 Terra ago by Patrick Glaxus, the war hero who led the charge in the battle against Amal. This is their legacy, the protectors of the North. In a packed classroom, the teacher tosses a question towards Zenith, the next in line to the Lintbell name. He asks her who the founder of the Tyrant Empire is. Without missing a beat, she says it's Cetra the First. The teacher beams, all praise and smiles, totally impressed by her quick wit and intelligence. Then, with a dramatic flair, he reminds her that as a Lintbell, she must pledge loyalty to the Emperor. But Zenith? She just flat out says no. The teacher literally short-circuits on the spot. Dude's jaw is on the floor. Never in his years of teaching has he seen a student drop a bomb like that with zero hesitation. He's horrified, clutching his pearls like she just committed treason in the middle of a pop quiz. Zenith, totally unbothered, tells him that he can pretend she pledged loyalty all he wants, but she's not playing along. He's flustered beyond saving, and she just sighs, asking him to stop with the lame nagging already. Jordan, who's sitting at the side, now knows for sure that he's screwed. He can already feel the incoming doom of a parent-teacher meeting. Later that day, Zenith finds herself face-to-face with her father, the Count. He's called Jordan in too, asking him how Zenith has been behaving. Jordan doesn't sugarcoat it. He spills the entire tea. Says straight up that Zenith has zero respect for the king, couldn't care less about her noble bloodline, and has totally ghosted the religion. Girl's just out here chilling like none of it matters. Her speech? Way too bold for a young lady. The Count thanks Jordan for telling him, but he's clearly trembling. In his head, Zenith is still his baby girl. There's no way she meant what she said. He tries to brush it off and tells Jordan to step outside for now. The butler tries to lift Jordan's spirits, saying this whole thing must be rough for the Count. But Jordan's just like, nah, it's fine. Kids these days mess up like this sometimes. Still, even the butler points out he's never seen the Count this troubled before. Now the Count calls Zenith in. She walks in, wondering what the punishment will be this time. A slap? Yelling? But instead, he gently holds her face, pouting like she just ran over his favorite dog, and asks where she picked up such disrespectful language. Not recognizing the Emperor or the royal reign? That's literal blasphemy in his book. Zenith is confused by his soft reaction but still tells him that she doesn't really care about the ruling class. She explains that it's not like she doesn't recognize their rule, she does. She just has issues with the whole divine right thing. The Count is all tense, mentally spiraling. He's wondering if this is really the child Beth gave birth to, because how on earth does a 10-year-old even talk like this? He suddenly feels like he knows nothing about his own daughter. Zenith sees his meltdown and calmly tells him he doesn't have to try to understand her. It's human nature to try and understand everything, but even she can't fully understand her own family members. If he really thinks she's too much to handle, she's fine with him disowning her. The Count just explodes at this point. He shouts, totally overwhelmed. What even is she doing? Zenith quietly raises her hands like she's surrendering to punishment. The Count scolds her hard, yelling about how dare she say that to her own father. Maybe he does need to monitor what she's been reading lately. The butler and the secretary peek from the doorway, all anxious, asking if everything's okay. The Count snaps, slams the door, and mocks them for having way too much time on their hands. Then, mid-rage, it hits him maybe it's his fault. Maybe he's the one who let Zenith's talents go to waste. He calls out to Ian, barking orders like a general. He's got 10 minutes to gather the knights, fully armored, at the training ground. Dude's out here throwing commands like confetti, trying to get his house back in order. The incident gets wrapped up with Zenith being forced to write an apology letter. Later that evening, she watches her father apply balm to her bruised hands. He glances at the apology letter and, instead of scolding her more, just mumbles that she must think he's a decent parent. He gently caresses her hair and wishes her a good night. Now in the quiet halls, Mary asks Zenith if she's liking this life. Zenith looks around the estate, the way someone does when they're staring at something oddly familiar. Mary, knowing more than she lets on, softly says this is the place. The very place where they were betrayed and cast aside. That idiot boy. And just like that, the memory hits. Now the scene shifts to a lively gathering, a group of people raising their glasses in celebration. It's Mary's retirement party. They're all laughing, clinking drinks, and living it up, but someone in the back casually asks if this is really her final mission and if she's planning to become an instructor now. Mary shrugs with a smirk, confirming it's true. Then she teases the guy, asking if he's gonna miss her or what. He snorts, throwing it right back, saying not really, he's actually aiming for her position now. The girl beside him groans like, oh, Come on, at least pretend to be sad. They all chuckle, saying it's honestly a shame she's retiring right after reaching Code Zero, the highest rank. But Mary's already over it. She raises her glass, tells them she's done with this job, and nope, zero regrets. She says she's ready to live a chill, quiet life now, away from all this chaos. The guy snickers again, saying that's a relief. And just like that, they all stand up. Then they pull their guns on her. Yeah, every single one of them. Mary freezes. She's like, what the actual hell? She stares at them, still trying to process. She asks why they're doing this. The guy just grins and tells her straight up brown-nosing never hurt anyone, and letting her get comfy was part of the plan. Mary isn't even shaken. Because this betrayal? It's not new to her. See, Mary isn't her real name. It was the name given by her adoptive parents, easy to pronounce, forgettable, basic. They adopted her from Korea when she was just 3. But it didn't take her long to realize they didn't want a child. They just wanted to tick a box on their noblesse oblige checklist. A small Asian girl like her? Yeah, she blended in easily, quietly. Teachers ignored her, classmates overlooked her, and at home she barely existed. She spent most of her time zoning out in front of the TV. As years passed, she became a child trapped in an adult shell. She dipped the moment she graduated high school. She knew she had to get out. That's when he came. John Whitson. He showed up with that annoying recruiter smile and asked if she wanted to try something new. Said there was a place, something different from running random side jobs just to survive. Mary had zero patience. Told him if he was gonna spit useless crap, he could bounce. But John didn't leave. He said this place needed her, that the people there wouldn't abandon her, that the country needed her. Mary wasn't dumb. She wasn't some desperate little girl who'd fall for patriotic word salad. But curiosity got the better of her. She wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was something different out there. Worse than here? Probably not. It wasn't the CIA. It wasn't the FBI, it was something even deeper. She joined under codename Red 114. Took her 5 years, 5 bloody, brutal, soul-crushing years to rise to Code Zero. The top. The best. But all that violence? All that chaos? It burned her out. Eventually, she decided enough was enough. She earned the right to walk away. To finally live for herself. So she switched to an instructor role. Thought she could just fade out quietly. But nah. That's not how this story goes. Back in the betrayal moment, she doesn't hesitate. Not even for a second. She grabs a knife from the table, flips it like muscle memory, leaps onto the table like a panther, and bolts. Her so-called teammates scream after her, total panic mode activated. She snatches the gun on her way out and disappears into the shadows. Sly Fox Guy, the leader of this backstabbing circus, yells at his team to chase her. But then, chaos. They all slip, stumble, collapse. He's confused, furious, demands to know what's going on. One of the men answers, the wind's too strong. A storm's about to break, any second now. He's pissed, absolutely fuming. He wants her caught. Now, he orders everyone to regroup. They'll sweep in teams. She can't go far. Not in the middle of this high ocean. Not in this weather. They have to find her. Because if they don't, they'll end up like the idiot she already took out during her escape. Meanwhile, in a narrow hiding spot, Mary is crouched low, panting, huffing, so close to the edge but still alive, still standing, and still fighting. The whole ship is in full-on bang-bang chaos, bodies dropping left and right as Mary goes absolutely feral. She's already taken out a good chunk of them, only 5 more to kill. But just as she's about to charge again, the pain from that dagger strike hits different. It suddenly hurts. She presses down on the wound, her hand coming away soaked in blood. It's not looking good. It seriously seems like she doesn't have much time left. And honestly, she doesn't even care if she dies. What will piss her off, though, is if she dies alone. She hears footsteps. Her instincts kick in, telling her to get up and ready, but her body flinches from the pain. When she sees who it is, she actually freezes its white 12. He grabs her. She blinks, totally thrown. Asks him how the hell he even got here. He just tells her he'll explain later and that there's a lifeboat on standby, but before they can even move, the SLY crew shows up, guns already pointed straight at them. She stares them down, demanding how they got there so fast. White barely gets a second to process before Mary asks, totally serious, if he's any good at swimming. He's like, wait, what dash? And boom, she shoves him overboard with her. No hesitation. Guns firing behind them, chaos exploding all around, and she just drags him straight into the sea. Now we see White yelling out to her, calling her name like crazy, asking if she's awake. When she finally blinks open her eyes, he just hugs her tight like he's been waiting for a second chance at life. The wild part? She doesn't even know this man's real name. All she knows is that he works in some shadowy management department, one with a job even more classified than hers. She used to bump into him all the time whenever she ran errands to the main office. He always seemed to appear in the training room too, always with some random excuse to show up on her day off. She used to wonder what his deal was. She thought he'd get bored after they slept together. But nope. After that, he got even clingier, to the point that she seriously had to just give up. No getting rid of this dude. Now, as they float out in the open water, she asks him straight up why did he come for her. He says he just realized that he didn't want to lie to himself anymore, that he loves her. She stares at him, thinking, this guy's really an idiot. All he can do is be here with her. He can't fix her wounds, can't fight off the SLY crew, can't even promise a way out of this, and he still came anyway. That thought hits different. She wonders if this is love. Her heart starts beating like a drum in her chest. He grabs her, hugs her tight. She hugs back. She always thought dying would be the loneliest thing ever. But now, she was wrong. Yeah, this isn't so bad at all. Then just like that, boom. She wakes up in someone else's body. She jolts, blinking hard, totally thrown. She's in the body of someone called Zenith. She's like, where the hell even am I? What's going on? Meanwhile, the Count nearby is crying literal happy tears, overjoyed that his wife gave birth to a healthy baby. Zenith's like, excuse me, what? She decides she'll think about it all later. Right now, it's morning. And clearly, things just got weird. Now we see that Zenith is out on the balcony, just minding her own business, breathing in the morning air when Daisy rushes up to her in full panic mode. She asks if Zenith is out here again. Zenith, who's 16 right now and has already mastered the art of side-eye, scoffs and tells Daisy to quit nagging. She just needed some fresh air, that's all. Daisy, undeterred, tells her she needs to wear a shawl when going out, or else she'll get scolded for catching a cold. She also drops a reminder not to forget today's lunch, since the Count came back last night. Daisy thinks he's got something important to tell her. And just to be extra, she adds again that Zenith should wear a shawl. And slippers too. Now the whole fam's gathered around for lunch. One of them casually asks Lyrdon when he plans to go back. He replies that he's not sure. Says he'd like to stay for as long as he wants. Zenith's mom turns to the Count and says she really missed him while he was away on work. The Count now looks over at Zenith and points out that she's practically a woman now. The mom agrees, saying she's already 16, and while time really does fly. Their Count suddenly remembers something. He tells the butler to bring him the letter. Once he gets it, he takes it out and says it's the admission letter from Haleium. Her siblings instantly stiffen. Nervous, Zenith had almost completely forgotten Haleium is a must-attend academy for aristocrats. It's the first step into real noble society. The noble family of Torian goes to insane lengths to make sure their kids get into that school. If someone doesn't get in, people just assume something is seriously wrong with them. That's why this letter is a big deal. Her mother is absolutely thrilled that Zenith got in. She also asks if they heard whether Philin got accepted too. The Count is confident that her family must have made sure of it. The mother is super happy that they can go together now. But seeing how Zenith has no real interest in any of this, the Count starts to look a little uneasy. Later that night, we see the Count working in his study. There's a knock on the door. He calls out for the person to come in and it's Zenith, here at his request. He asks how preparations for school are going. She tells him that her mother's handling everything. So yeah, all good. But then he says something different. Asks if she's worried. Zenith blinks. What even is he talking about? He makes it clear he's asking if she's scared of stepping into high society. She shrugs it off. Says her siblings were barely able to survive it, so she's sure it won't be that bad. The Count sighs and tells her that the people in that world are perfectly capable of creating problems. He admits that yeah, maybe he tends to overthink and worry too much, but he still wants her to be careful. Wants her to take care of herself. She just smiles. Says those types of people exist everywhere, so there's no need to stress. She'll just make herself invisible and avoid problems. But then her eyes shift, and she's like, but what if the tree plans to stand still, and the wind still reaches to tear it apart anyway? That hits him hard. He literally gets goosebumps from her expression. He tells her to stay calm as much as she can. She asks if he's still worried. He looks at her and asks if she remembers when he scolded her for something she said when she was little and how ever since that day, she's never stepped out of line. Not even once. While most people might have thought that was a good thing, he's worried. worried that she won't be able to keep hiding her true self forever. He tells her not to suppress who she really is. And she gets it now. She sees it. He thinks she's a literal time bomb waiting to go off. She tells him not to worry. She'll make sure she doesn't ruin the family name. The next day, she's in the carriage with Philin, who's absolutely glowing with excitement about heading to the capital. She's sad to leave the wind, the trees, the woods, but also a little hyped to see the city lights. Meanwhile, Zenith? She's yawning like it's nobody's business. Philin is like, "Girl, it's rude to yawn when someone's talking." Zenith just shrugs. Whatever. Philin gets salty. Says Zenith really needs to drop that whole laid-back act before she embarrasses their entire family at Haleium. Zenith replies that they're not even there yet, like chill. Then she asks Philin if she seriously thinks she's going to commit some grand faux pas or something. Mocks her, saying she's not Philin, so obviously, she won't be perfect. Philin grits her teeth at that. Zenith smirks, tells her she better get used to it, since they're going to be seeing a lot of each other from now on. And she can tell exactly what Philin's thinking. What if we both end up as outcasts just for being friends? What if I have to ditch Zenith just to stay in the good graces of the other noble ladies? Zenith can't believe she's lived long enough in this body to actually go to school now. She half jokes in her head that she's probably going to drop dead any minute because she wasn't even supposed to get reborn with all her memories intact. She sighs. What a lazy mistake for a god to make. No wonder she's got so little respect for him. But this time, she's waiting to show that god the consequences of his sloppy little oops. Because in this world, she's going to do something. At Rohashium, the capital of Tyran, things are tense. Philin's burning up with a fever, pale and sweating in bed like she's melting. The room's quiet until the door creaks open. It's Rosemary, the firstborn, stepping in with her usual calm but bossy energy. She takes one look and asks if they're alright. Philin, in peak dramatic mode, groans that she thinks she's gonna die. Rosemary's like, okay, maybe it's time to call the doctor, but Zenith? Nah. Zenith casually insists Philin's fine, she probably just needs some rest. Rosemary sighs, a bit bummed, and goes, ugh, what a shame. Guess we're missing Countess Torva Salon. But someone's gotta go, right? So she decides she'll go herself and leave Zenith to babysit. The moment the door shuts, Philin's up like a rocket. She's out of bed, arms in the air like finally, freedom. She turns to Zenith with a glare, annoyed. Zenith looks lost, totally missing why Philin's so pressed. But Philin's not having it. She throws her hands up and yells, wasn't Zenith the queen of saying no to everything? Then where was she when Philin actually needed her? And does she even know how boring that salon is? It's just crusty people reading ancient poetry and pretending it's fun. Zenith shrugs like, girl, all society gatherings are like that. Who even cares? She flops onto the bed like she's clocking out of this convo. She's not wasting her precious hours on that mess. The streets of Cairo are calling. It's time for a vibe shift. And oh, Philin is living. This city's basically heaven. She's got her hands full of pretty desserts and shiny jewelry, walking like she owns the place. Best time of her life. But of course, Zenith's mood's already crashing. She wants to head back. Zenith shoots her a look like, if you're done trying to bankrupt the family with your spending spree, we should bounce. Philin's about to snap back, but then ouch. Something aches, and it shows on her face. Zenith instantly switches to panic mode, asking what's wrong. Philin mumbles that it's the new shoes. Zenith raises an eyebrow and says, well, that's clearly a sign from the universe to go home now. But just as they're about to leave, Philin freezes. The cherry on top? She literally has no clue where the return route is. Zenith flinches. Great. It's getting dark. First step? Find a carriage. But then, bam. Chills. Zenith turns around slowly, that eerie sense crawling up her spine. Someone's watching. She looks. No one's there. Philin's confused and asks what's up. Zenith doesn't sugarcoat it. Feels like someone's following us. That wipes the grin right off Philin's face. She's low-key terrified now. Zenith doesn't wait for more weird vibes. She grabs Philin's hand, whispers listen to me, and they start running, ducking into the shadows on the count of 3. Philin's thinking, if only Zenith was merry right now. And the worst part? She's underdressed and kinda limping from her shoe injury. On 3 they bolt. Then voice behind them. A guy calls out, don't be scared. He comes toward them, hands up like he means no harm. Says his name's Harvin and that he runs a store in Cairo. Saw the commotion and came to help. Total good Samaritan mode. Philin narrows her eyes. She whispers to Zenith, red flag, red flag. He's shady. But Zenith? She's not buying the panic. She doesn't think he's dangerous, and let's be real, Philin's injured. They need help. Philin looks Harvin up and down. She's still skeptical, wondering if Zenith's sure about this guy. Harvin catches the injury and gently offers his hand. Mind if I help you walk? He asks. Philin? Blushing hard. So is he. She gives him her hand and boom sparkled. Whole new world unlocked. Meanwhile, Zenith's standing there third wheeling, confused and mildly horrified. Cut to the carriage ride. They're finally safe. Philin turns to Harvin, all mushy, saying she'll never forget what he did for them. Harvin beams like he just won the lottery and says he was just doing the right thing. He hands her a little something, hoping it fits her taste. Philin thanks him sweetly, totally charmed. Zenith, still in rational older sibling mode, clears her throat like, okay, moving on, let's get going now. Harvin waves goodbye like a gentleman. Zenith sighs, muttering that at least they made it back in one piece. She then nudges Philin to open the gift. They tear it open and it's slippers. Zenith raises a brow and tells her to try them on. Philin's like, later. Zenith shrugs. Harvin seems like a decent guy, she says. Philin, swaying like she's walking on clouds, can't agree more. On the 6th day of arrival, Haleium's High Society finally throws open its gates for the incoming freshmen of the Liberal Arts Division. Zenith and Philin walk through the grand entrance together, stepping into the sprawling banquet hall where the welcome party is already in full swing. Philin's instantly in love. Her eyes sparkle like she's walked into a fairy tale, and she gushes internally about how absolutely amazing this place is. Zenith, on the other hand, is over it. She scoffs and tells Philin to stop gawking and keep up. But Philin's in her feelings. She thinks it's super romantic that the Emperor named the most beautiful building on campus after Empress Elliot. Zenith snorts and side-eyes the architecture, muttering something about how it might be romantic if you ignore all the people who broke their backs building this place just for the Emperor to slap his wife's name on it. Their convo gets interrupted when Philin spots Marie, her bubbly bestie, across the room. They squeal and hug like they haven't seen each other in years. Marie then introduces them to someone new, Clara, the daughter of Viscount Minto. Clara's got chill vibes. She's the type who seems like she wouldn't stress even if the world was burning. Philin, being her usual sunshine self, greets Clara with full-blown enthusiasm, hands in the air and everything. Clara turns to Zenith next. Zenith's standing there quietly, thinking at least Philin seems to be having fun. But Clara beams and rushes toward her, way too fast, making Zenith flinch like she just got jump-scared. With sparkly eyes, Clara says she's heard a lot about Zenith and that they totally should be friends. Zenith, having zero experience in the art of making friends, panics and goes stiff. She nods awkwardly and mumbles that Clara can call her Zenith, which just makes the whole moment 10 times more uncomfortable. Philin jumps in like a social life lifeguard and smooths it over. She explains that Zenith's just a shy kid, nothing major, and then adds that she really hopes the three of them can become good friends. Clara watches the two of them with raised brows. Yeah, they definitely seem super close. It's all in the way they naturally back each other up and throw compliments like confetti. Suddenly, the buzz dies down as someone announces for the students to pay attention. The professors are making their grand entrance time for the official welcome ceremony to kick off. One of the professors steps forward and greets the freshmen warmly. She says they're all clearly talented young ladies and that under the guidance of Haleium's instructors, they'll be able to push their studies to the next level. She introduces the faculty, Professor Diana for literature, Paul for history, and Helen for math and accounting. Philin leans towards Zenith and whispers that they all look kinda intimidating. Zenith just shrugs and mutters that they seem fine to her. But then the real deal enters. Cue the doors swinging open dramatically. It's the Dean of Haleium Cardios. He strides in like he owns the place, which he kinda does, flashing a smile that sets off fireworks. He welcomes the students with a voice smooth enough to be on the radio, and half the girls in the room are already losing their minds over his face. He's that good looking. Paul leans toward Diana with a sigh and says this happens every single year. Diana nods, completely unfazed. Philin is straight up swooning. She's fully ready to simp. But Zenith? She's side-eyeing the chaos and doesn't get the hype at all. She's like, what even is this fuss? If we're talking handsome, there's only one person that pops into my head. But mid-thought, she starts scratching her head like, girl, what are you even thinking right now? Snap out of it. Cardios clears his throat and moves on to the next point. He says there's one more important thing they need to do: get familiar with their upperclassmen. Right on cue, there's a knock on the doors. Everyone turns as the second years of Haleium make their entrance, walking in like they're the main characters of a drama. Among them are the Freemans. Zenith scans the crowd, wondering if Anthea's here too, her older sister. Not that they were ever close or anything. Zenith really couldn't care less about this whole sisterly reunion nonsense, but of course, Philin nudges her and points it out. Your sister Enthea's here. And yup, here she comes. Enthea walks up to Zenith with a smirk and asks casually, so, have you already gotten into trouble yet? Zenith sighs, feeling the weight of Enthea's words again. To her, Zenith is just a child, isn't she? She says it like she's making a public announcement or something. Zenith, not in the mood for another mini lecture, tells her she can go ahead and ask Philin how good she's been doing. Philin, super chill, confirms that yeah, she's doing just fine and even mentions that he's already made friends with the other girls there. Zenith can't help but give him a thumbs up. At this point he's handling it like a pro. Enthea looks pleased, like finally, because their family is the face of the northern region, and Zenith has to carry herself well. And here we go again, yet another new lecture loading. She's in the middle of a full-on etiquette rant when suddenly, a girl calls out to Enthea. Enthea flinches, her face tightening for a sec. The girl says the freshman didn't greet her properly today. The freshman apologizes, saying they've heard a lot about Enthea and had always wanted to meet her. And then bam, a full 360 personality switch. Enthea smiles like a princess and greets them warmly, saying it's really nice to meet them. Zenith is standing there, watching this double-faced transformation like it's a live performance. She knows Enthea is her jester, but still those sudden switches give her serious goosebumps. Enthea turns to Zenith, telling her she shouldn't just stand there but greet people too. Philin glances at Zenith, and she asks what he's looking at. He just smiles and says they're looking pretty close. She rolls her eyes. Fast forward 3 months later, at tea time, Zenith is sitting with Clara and some of the others. She asks what they were chatting about just now. Clara starts talking about the latest gossip. Zenith has slowly adjusted to life at Haleium. She attends her classes, joins in on club activities, and at one point even thought that this kind of slow, peaceful, slightly boring life wasn't too bad. Except for moments like this. Interruptions. Catherine storms in, totally pissed. She's yelling about how those two always seem to bump into each other in the corridors. Apparently, people are talking about Lauriel and Christina Taylor again. Christina thinks it's just unfortunate that people from both Nox and Dahlia ended up enrolling in the same year. Zenith starts wondering if those two are in their class. Clara smiles, saying it's obvious Zenith is always the last to know about campus gossip. Nox and Dahlia are from two territories literally divided by war, so every time they meet it's instant drama. Clara sighs that they're still better than the Knights department, though. She heard the Knights are always throwing hands at each other. Catherine complains that if they do want to fight, they should at least keep the noise level down. They're giving her a headache. Lunchtime's almost over, so it's time to head back. Clara knows Zenith has literature and fiction next, so they decide to walk there together. As they're walking through the corridor, Clara points out how her eardrums almost got ripped from all the yelling earlier. It really shows what kind of home training these so-called elegant families actually have. Zenith agrees silently behind the beauty. Most of them are kind of evil. Then Clara mentions it feels like Philin hasn't had much time these days. Zenith explains she's just been going to her club meetings. Clara asks if Philin's been getting close with the Elaines. She says it's good to form strong bonds with other noble ladies, but Zenith just thinks maybe making friends will only end up hurting her. Her past with humans hasn't exactly been sunshine and rainbows. Then chaos erupts again. This time, it's a heated confrontation between Nox and Lauriel. Lauriel yells that Nox's rudeness is completely unacceptable, and she doesn't deserve to be treated this way. But Nox, she's literally thriving in the mess, smirking and mocking Lauriel, says it looks like she's lacking even the basic level of common knowledge. Lauriel is done. She says Nox's disrespect knows no boundaries. Nox sighs, like she's the one being wronged, and reminds her that her family raised the sword for a reason. She throws shade, calling Lauriel a so-called princess of the fallen empire. That hits hard. Lauriel snaps, how dare Nox talk that way to royalty. She reminds everyone that Nox's family are traitors. Zenith watches the whole thing unfold. She notes how Nox's sharp words feel low-key dominating. Clara pulls her aside, whispering that they should just ignore it and get to class. Just in time, the classroom door slams open. Philin enters. Zenith is relieved the old professor isn't there yet. But something about Philin being late feels off. It might just be her intuition, but something doesn't sit right. Cut to another scene somewhere in the estate. A maid finds a woman collapsed on the floor. She had just drunk something. Her cup is still next to her, tipped slightly, and her breathing is faint. Something's definitely wrong. Rebecca, a lady from the Clunt family in the Kingdom of Nax. She was the type of person people remembered not just for her beauty, though yeah, she had that too golden, glossy hair, eyes the color of spring leaves, but what made her unforgettable was her warm, sweet smile and that calm, mature energy she always carried around. But now, all of that's just gone. She's dead. Word spreads like wildfire. Rebecca committed suicide, and the entire Kydel region is literally frozen in shock. Even from a distance, Philin stands there stunned, trying to figure out what the hell is happening. Zinth, meanwhile, feels it immediately. The air's thick with something. That strange, heavy scent. The kind of silence that comes with death. She walks over to a woman who looks like she's about to collapse from fear and asks her casually what's going on. Zinth says she just got out of class and is totally clueless. The woman, almost trembling, tells her what everyone's whispering, that Rebecca drank poison and died. Zinth blinks, like she hears the words, but it doesn't fully land. It's unreal. But then she sees Philin nearby, completely shaken, pale, shaking hard, like her entire system just glitched. Now they're sitting together, tea untouched, and Philin still hasn't stopped trembling. She keeps asking herself why would Rebecca do this? How could she? But Zinth just sits there, way too calm for the situation. She says there must be a reason. Philin slams her hand on the table. What kind of reason could possibly make this make sense? She's starting to lose it. She's mad. Like, does no one care that their own classmate is just gone? Zinth sighs. She gets it. But she also thinks spiraling won't fix anything. Philin glares at her, frustrated. She straight up asks Zinth if she'd act the same if she were the one who died. Would she just say there must be a reason? And honestly, yeah, Zinth would probably say exactly that. Back in the present, Zinth stares at her and quietly mutters that she knows she wouldn't let Philin die like that. So why is she making such a big deal out of this? Philin, boys tight, says this isn't about drama, it's about the fact that Zinth is just straight up heartless sometimes. Zinth chuckles, but her smile's sharp. She asks if Philin really believes she has no heart. How many people does Philin think are out here genuinely grieving? Like, deep down, maybe 3? 4 at most? Sure, they'll act sad on the outside, but let's be real, they're all just dying to get in on the gossip. That's when Philin snaps. She stands up, furious, saying if that's how Zinth thinks, then fine. Maybe she's the one with no heart. Maybe everyone is just like her. Zinth just sips her tea, unfazed, and says Rebecca doesn't need this fake sympathy parade. Philin clenches her jaw so hard it hurts and slams the door behind her on her way out. Zinth watches her go, barely reacting. Just notes that Philin didn't even touch her dessert today. Outside, Philin seething, huffing under her breath, wondering if Zinth really believes everyone is as cold and empty as she is. But then she hears it. The pastry club girls, laughing, whispering, talking trash. If Rebecca really had a man, she probably wasn't as innocent as people thought. She probably killed herself over some dude drama. She was never that pure to begin with. The words slice through Philin like knives. She flinches, can't believe what she's hearing. The gossip is gross, dark, almost cruel. She backs off quickly, walking away as fast as she can, needing to get away from all the noise about Rebecca. Meanwhile, Zintha's intuition is buzzing. Something isn't adding up. She's thinking harder now, wondering if Philin and Rebecca were always this close. A few days pass. It's the weekend. Zinth watches Philin from her window, eyes narrowed. There's no reason Philin should be outside right now. Something feels off. She just knows that Philin is lying about something. Without wasting more time, she calls for Daisy and tells her to prep the carriage. She's heading out. There's something she needs to check, something only she can figure out. In the carriage, she pulls off her hood, glancing around, unsure if anyone saw her or not. She quietly wonders to herself how long she's going to keep living like this. But deep down, she already knows she'll have to deal with all of this on her own, especially since she already lied to Zinth. Still, a part of her starts doubting maybe she should just tell Zinth everything. It's not like she's handling it all that well on her own. In reality, no one really gets her fears the way Zinth does. Sure, they argue a lot, but Zinth is actually insanely smart, probably the smartest person she knows. And not just that she's genuinely amazing, but the worry still lingers. What if Zinth ends up disappointed in her? Snapping back to the moment, she taps on the carriage wall, and the coachman tells her they've arrived. She steps out, slightly dazed, trying to figure out where exactly she should even head next. Her gaze scans around, until suddenly her eyes brighten. Harvin's standing there. Relief floods her face as she rushes toward him, apologizing for making him wait so long. But he just gives her that soft smile and says it's all good. Still, she notices how concerned he looks, pointing out how pale she's gotten. She tries to brush it off, casually blaming it on the teachers giving her a rough time lately. She tells him not to stress about it, but the look in his eyes says he's definitely worried. He nods like he believes her, but deep down, he doesn't. He just lets it slide for now. The market's on full blast today, color, noise, life everywhere, and it hits her that today must be the opening day. She wasn't ready for this much buzz. As they walk, she spots a jewelry shop and heads in, eyes lighting up at all the sparkly pieces. They're so pretty, it almost makes her forget why she was sad in the first place. Harvin finds her reactions ridiculously cute, and low-key decides he's going to buy her one. Then she grabs a bunny mask, puts it on, and immediately bumps into something. Turns out she can't see a thing in it. Harvin bursts out laughing, saying maybe he should be the one to wear it now. They keep walking, and she blurts out how today's actually been kind of fun. Harvin, clearly vibing with her mood, calls her over and asks if she wants to check out the flower section. He takes her to this bigger market space that's all about flowers. She's surprised he's never been into flowers before. He just shrugs and says that recently, there's something about them. Like, just looking at them makes him feel kinda peaceful, kinda happy. But the moment she spots Philin, all her emotions hit her at once. Harvin's still talking, saying it's all thanks to her that he's found happiness again. That if anyone deserves peace, it's her. Then he hands her the flowers, and just like that, she breaks down. Tears, full on, no holding back. Harvin panics, thinking he messed up somehow, but she's sobbing so hard she can barely breathe. Eventually, between gasps and cries, she spills everything, tells him all of it. He's stunned, then asks why would she go that far? Why would she hurt herself like that? She tells him he doesn't get it. No one knows what's really going on in Haleium. Her voice is filled with so much sadness when she brings up the day Rebecca died. She whispers that she's sorry, all of it feels too much. Harvin doesn't let it slide. He straight up tells her he's worried sick, says her face looks half the size it used to be, and asks if she's even eating properly. She says nothing, and that silence hits him hard. He pleads with her, not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, serious tone, to promise she'll take care of herself. Eat better. Not let herself fall apart like this. She nods and promises. He reminds her that no matter what anyone says about Rebecca, they know who she really was, what kind of person she was behind all the rumors and noise. He says they should leave now, but she shakes her head slightly. What she needs right now is Zynt. Right then, Zynt appears out of nowhere, walking in like she's been waiting for her cue. She announces that it's all clear now because at one point, she genuinely thought Philin was the one who poisoned Rebecca. And just like that, Philin sees her and freezes, eyes going wide in total shock. Inside the carriage, Zenith casually turns to Philin and drops the question, when exactly did the two of them start dating? At first, Philin straight up laughs it off like, what dating? Haha, nah, it's all just coincidence. Zenith scoffs. Coincidence? Really? Hugging, holding hands, what was all that then? Philin turns red instantly, getting all flustered, mumbling that they didn't mean it like that. Zenith just shrugs, acting unbothered. Like, whatever. Say what you want, but the way they were standing close? Yeah, not subtle. Then Philin's voice gets low as she asks if Zenith's planning to tell anyone, like her mom or anyone else. Zenith sighs. If Philin wants to keep it low-key, she's not about to go around spilling it. But if they really are dating, then she needs to be more careful. They were in a crowded space. Anything could have gone wrong. Philin nods, biting her lip, saying she knows that and that she really did try to be careful. Zenith pauses, then asks what's really bothering her. Philin stares out the window, then quietly says that Zenith always talks to her so harshly. It's like they're not even friends. Zenith raises an eyebrow. What is she even expecting from her? Should she throw her a dance party or something just because she found her first love? Philin glares at her, saying she's not 5. She didn't want a parade, just a simple congrats like a normal friend would say. Zenith leans back in her seat. She's sorry, but she can't lie and say she's happy when she's watching someone she cares about play with fire. That hits Philin hard. Her hands start trembling. She mumbles that it figures. That's how it always is, like her heart is nothing but a joke to everyone. Zenith tries to explain, but makes it clear, love is just stupid. That's all. Philin snaps, says Zenith doesn't get it. She doesn't have a clue what it's like to feel the pressure of everyone's eyes on her. She's now full-on ugly crying, barely holding it together, voice shaky. She says even if Zenith didn't like it, she could have at least pretended to be happy for her, just once, like a real friend. That shakes Zenith up more than she expected, but before she can say anything, Philin wipes her tears and says it's fine. It's not Zenith's fault. They're just too different. Maybe it's better if, For now, they pretend they don't know each other. A few days pass. Nox throws a formal gathering, thanking everyone for showing up. The vibe is a little tense, like something's off, but still, she hopes they'll all talk and share stories like usual. Zenith is there too, standing in the crowd, when her eyes lock with Philyn's across the room. But Philyn quickly looks away and walks over to Clara, asking if she wants to try these new walnut cookies. Nearby, Mary finally pulls Zenith aside. She asks quietly if she and Philyn had a fight. Zenith nods slowly, saying it feels like she said something that really upset Philyn. Mary sighs. She hopes they patch things up soon, but yeah, it does feel like something's off. She's been watching Philyn, and even though she's usually super cheerful, lately, something's definitely changed. Her under eyes are darker, her mood heavier. Zenith thanks Mary for telling her. She honestly hadn't noticed how bad it had gotten, and now she's really starting to wonder. Is it because of Harvin? She doesn't get love at all. She doesn't understand what drives people to throw themselves into it, especially if it ends up like this. Still, she can't stop thinking about how Philyn went to meet Harvin that day. Why? Suddenly, someone nearby asks Philyn if she's heard the story about Rebecca's will. Philyn freezes. She's totally taken aback. The room goes quiet for a second, and then everyone starts whispering. They say Rebecca left behind a will, and then took her own life. The whispers get worse, rumors that she had a lover, that the will had only one line, "To my dear, I hope you can forgive me for being reckless." They say it's shameful, that her family must be humiliated to have a daughter like her, that Rebecca must have been the kind of girl who met men behind closed doors before marriage. Philyn stands up abruptly, her voice tight. She says she's not feeling well and is leaving early. Zenith watches her go, guilt crashing over her. She didn't mean to hurt her, but it's so clear now she really did mess up. The other ladies keep gossiping. They say it's strange how Rebecca even got her hands on that kind of poison. Her family didn't even want an autopsy done. Said it was too cruel to touch her body with a knife. But Zenith is stuck on something else. None of this adds up. A lethal poison like that? It's not something just anyone can get. And someone like Rebecca's sweet, gentle, and beautiful, it would have been nearly impossible for her to find that on her own. The more she thinks about it, the more suspicious everything feels. Somewhere in the shadows, a woman in a hood silently walks into a dark room. She reaches for the bottle Rebecca drank from, fingers trembling. As she holds it, she barely whispers her name, a name lost in the silence. The next day, Zenith is seen taking her class. Nothing really gets resolved, and in the end, she just sighs like, who even cares? It's not her business anyway, and honestly, she's not about to start meddling in Rebecca's mess. She's barely holding her own life together. Just then, she gets a chirpy text from Caesar, saying they're planning a picnic this weekend and should totally go shopping too, because a ton of new stuff just dropped. And let's be real, when else would they even get the time to be this fashionable? He's literally begging her to come with them since even Clara's going. Zenith rolls her eyes but agrees, thinking no matter how much they act all mature, they're still getting way too hyped over a picnic. It's kinda cute, though. She sighs and mumbles that they really do get excited over the most random things. But then, she glances at Philyn, and just like that, she's reminded that Philyn actually likes these kinds of things. Maybe she should ask her to come too. It might be a good time to patch things up. Zenith walks over to Philyn, who's dozing off with her head low. Philyn suddenly snaps up, claiming she wasn't sleeping at all. Zenith hands her the flyer, casually asking if she wants to come along. But Philyn just grabs the paper, crumples it up in her hand, and chucks it at her with zero chill. She yells at her not to talk to her, but Zenith dodges the flying paper and, oops, it ends up smacking Clara right in the head. Philyn immediately freaks out, apologizing to Clara, saying she didn't mean for it to hit her at all. Clara stands up, full mom mode activated, and tells both of them they better squash their drama and not argue in class. Even Zenith is like, dang, Clara can actually be scary when she's mad. After class ends, Philyn makes a beeline to Clara, practically begging her and asking if she's mad. Clara brushes it off, but that sweet smile she gives? It's honestly even scarier. Philyn, sweating, repeats that she's sorry again. Right at that moment, Zenith's attention shifts. She notices a girl with white hair sitting a few rows down, looking super down. Clara sees her zoning out and asks what she's staring at. Zenith points toward Rebecca's old seat. There's someone sitting there now. Clara squints and says, "Oh, that's Esther." She adds that apparently Esther collapsed after hearing the news about Rebecca, but now she seems to be back. Clara sighs, saying Esther was one of Rebecca's old friends, just like Zenith and Philyn. Zenith can feel it, that heavy energy. It must be rough for her. And even though she doesn't want to meddle in anyone else's business, not anymore, something about this whole thing won't let her stay out of it. If Rebecca really died because of love just like the rumors say, then Philin could totally end up like her. Love has so many faces, and not all of them are soft. That thought alone makes Zenith super uneasy. School suddenly feels off. Outside, the air is still. Esther is walking, a bit wobbly, when she loses her balance. Just in time, Zenith catches her. She gently asks if she's okay, motioning her to sit on a bench nearby. Esther, breathing unevenly, thanks her by name. Zenith blinks. She wasn't expecting that. She asks if they've met before. Esther gives her a faint smile and says of course her family was the first to ever be Shieldies, really famous in Nox. Zenith tells her she can tell it must be hard right now, but she still needs to take care of herself. Esther lets out a dry laugh. It's easier now, she says. After all, she's already used to people's annoying curiosity. But then her hands tremble. Her voice lowers, like she's scared to even say it. She asks Zenith what she thinks about all the rumors floating around school. She insists she was more mature than Rebecca. Everyone knew it, so why are people acting like Rebecca just lost it? Zenith stays calm, her energy grounding the moment. She tells Esther that she only believes what she sees, and what she saw was that Rebecca was a genuinely mature, kind person. She doesn't need any proof to know her friend wasn't the type to break like that over nothing. Esther starts crying real tears, the kind that show how long she's been holding it in. She tells Zenith she's thankful. No one else has even talked to her lately, let alone believed in Rebecca. Zenith watches her carefully. She says Rebecca really was kind. Then her voice drops softer, serious. She tells Esther that now, she needs to tell her the truth. Whatever's hiding behind Rebecca's death she wants to know. This makes Esther flinch. She tells Zenith that she doesn't really have much to say to her. Zenith can tell immediately that Esther has her guard up. Still, she calmly tells her that she's not asking for anything to brag about, it's just that she genuinely felt something was off about Rebecca's death from the beginning. Rebecca's cause of death was poison, and not just any kind. This particular type is hard to find, especially for people like them. Even if someone hits up the black market, it's so rare that they wouldn't even be shown it. Zenith asks if the investigators ever figured that out. Esther replies that she was honestly a bit surprised too. She thought the same thing, but everyone around her just kept saying she was being delusional. Even the investigators seemed like they were just pretending to care, completely ignoring her suspicion. Zenith wonders out loud why Rebecca's father, Ames, didn't do anything about it. It really seems like he's being way too careless about his own daughter's death. Esther thinks maybe it's guilt. She tells Zenith that Rebecca and Ames had a fight the night before it happened. She's also sure it wasn't her father who was behind any of this. She was the only one who even managed to convince him to listen. Zenith asks if she saw the note Rebecca supposedly left behind, if it was really her handwriting. Esther says that yeah, it definitely was Rebecca's writing, but Zenith still doesn't buy it. Even if it was her writing, the note was way too vague to mean anything solid. She doesn't believe Rebecca would leave behind something that cryptic. Rather than the supposed suicide note, both of them blurt out the same idea at the same time, that it could have actually been a written letter. Esther is kind of happy that someone else finally thinks the same way she does. But she also starts to question what the point of all this even is. No one's listening to them anyway, so what does it matter? She says she's planning to throw it all away today. The thing she's holding onto is the pattern at the bottom of the poison bottle, the one Rebecca drank from. It had a unique design, and that's the only reason she copied it. But even now, she's super nervous. She turns to Zenith and says they should probably get going, she's already taken too much of her time. Esther thanks her for today and asks if they can call each other by name now. Zenith smiles and says she's totally fine with that and would actually love to have a friend like her. As she's walking away, Zenith thinks to herself that even if Esther is as emotionally clueless as Philin, she'll figure things out eventually. And somehow, Zenith feels a little relieved. It's now the day of the picnic, and just like the heroine of the group, Zenith is out here trying to win gifts for the girls from an aerobal game. They're all set up, drinks in hand, having a chill time. Clara is totally amazed by the doll Zenith won for her. The girls are all hyped, they can't believe how good her aim is. One of them asks how she managed to shoot so well and get the best prize out of anything. Mary jokes that Zenith must have been a secret archer in a past life. Thanks to her, they all got awesome souvenirs. Zenith is just happy that everyone's enjoying themselves. Clara turns to Philin and asks what she thinks about Zenith's little hunting talent. But Philin kind of scoffs and says she's not really sure about that, which makes things a little awkward. Amid is now visibly annoyed. She tells them all to stop it already, like seriously, how long are they gonna keep up this petty vibe? She reminds them that they've not just been friends for a couple of days, so they should stop acting like strangers and just talk it out. Philin sighs and says yeah, that's exactly what she meant, and questions if it's really that wrong to ask for a little consideration from an old friend. Clara gets defensive, asking what Philin's even trying to do and why she's acting this way towards Zenith. Zenith finally snaps and calls out to Philin, asking how long she's gonna keep acting like a child. Philin fires back, shouting at Zenith really thinks she's the one at fault, like she wasn't the one being ignored. Zenith understands that yeah, Philin was mad about it, but she acted the way she did because she was genuinely worried about her. She asks Philin straight up, does she really think Zenith was being inconsiderate? Or does it just hurt to face the truth that she's been avoiding this whole time? Philin doesn't answer. She just gets up, crying, and leaves while Clara and Mary both call out after her. Zenith thinks that if Philin really gets what just happened, she'll finally be able to reach her own conclusion. Philin, now crying alone, feels like Zenith could have at least been on her side. She knows that their relationship isn't going to go smoothly and that people are always going to treat her like she's naive or too emotional. But she also believes she can handle it. Her love, it's as hard as steel and as noble as a diamond. Even if it crumbles like fairy bubbles, she'll protect it. She knows all this. But deep down, she really just wanted Zenith to realize it a little later. That's when she sees Harvin standing right in front of her. Panic hits her hard. What if someone sees them together? She quickly calls out to him, but he walks right past her, completely ignoring her. And just like that, her heart drops. Again. Recently. It always feels like this. But to her surprise, he leans in and slips her something quietly. He tells her that before the fireworks start, she should come to this place. No explanation. Just that. Then he's gone, walking away like he didn't just leave a mental explosion in his wake. She flinches, staring at the letter in her hand like it's about to catch fire. Her eyes flicker back to where he stood, now empty, and she wonders if Shay even afford to get involved with someone like him? Honestly, she doesn't know the answer herself. Cut to chaos. The girls are now frantically looking for Philin. They're scattered across campus, trying to track her down. Where in the world is she? Zenith's already over it. She mutters under her breath, wondering just how long she'll have to search for this girl in a place this massive. She glances around and can see even Mary and Clara are starting to suffer. And the worst part? They were really looking forward to this picnic. It was supposed to be a chill, aesthetic day. Zenith says to Mary that she is sorry the party got ruined because of her. Mary feels guilty too, regretting that she shouldn't have said anything, but Zenith believes it was her own fault for not acting mature and for fighting in front of everyone. Clara, watching them, thinks that now is not the time for dwelling or dodging. They should go and find Philin first, since they need to return before evening. Clara is now certain that finding Philin should be their top priority, and she suggests they search for her at the lakeside. However, Mary doubts that Philin would be enjoying a boat ride at a time like this. Clara reminds them that the finale of the picnic is the fireworks, and since Philin has to return with them in the carriage, she would have definitely gone there. Mary thinks that Clara is really intelligent. Zenith tells them that they should get going now. Meanwhile, Harvin is waiting for Philin, unaware that she is secretly watching him. Philin is all but bawling. She doesn't know whether she should go and meet him. But then what happens next? What if rumors begin to spread around the school about her? And what if her father finds out? She is sure he will be extremely angry, and along with her mother, he will reprimand her harshly. Suddenly, the fireworks begin. She looks at the sky, then at Harvin, and then forces herself not to go to him, even as tears stream down her cheeks. The girls are in the boat, enjoying the fireworks. Mary thinks it would have been much better if Philin had been with them to watch this. Zenith, however, is distracted, still looking around for Philin. Clara assures them all, calm and smart, that she is sure Philin is watching the fireworks too, probably from another boat, since she had been really looking forward to seeing them. At that moment, Zenith spots Harvin. And if Harvin is here, that must mean Philin is here too. And then, there she is. Zenith sees Philin, hiding. Back at the dock, Zenith reflects. She thinks about how Philin was always like this in the past, and even in the present. In the past, they were children. Philin is dragging Zenith along, insisting she come with her. Philin says Zenith's popularity will drop if she just reads in her room all day, and that she doesn't have to worry. Philin will teach her how to say hello to others. But then, other children's voices float into the room. They're gossiping about Zenith. One boy scoffs, saying she always says weird things, and that's why he doesn't like hanging out with her. Zenith sighs to Philin, saying she can tell that they don't like her, so Philin doesn't have to bother. But Philin throws open the door, yelling and calling them idiot frogs. She says she doesn't care if Zenith is rude, but why are they being rude behind her back? She tells them that she'll report them to Zenith's mother. Back to the present, Zenith feels like things haven't changed. It seems like she didn't manage to protect Harvin. On the other side, Philin continues to cry, and just imagining her crying makes Zenith twitch. It seems that she will have to take matters into her own hands. At Zenith's house, Torin says to his mother that it seems like she must be having a hard time while clinging to the capital, but his mother replies warmly, saying how could she be tired when she was on her way to see her children. She asks Torin how things are at the Night Temple. He tells her he is doing well, that he just completed his first year there and is trying his best. But now she is more concerned about Zenith, wondering if she is doing well at the academy. Torin comments that she is always worried about Zenith and what could happen to her. The mother tells him that it seems something recently happened between Philin and Zenith. She hopes their relationship mends soon. Torin brushes it off, saying Philin has long been a friend of Zenith, that's why she's able to understand Zenith's unique personality. Just then, Zenith comes in, asking if they are talking about her. She steps in, saying she's sorry to intrude, but she heard their voices from outside. Their mother hugs her and asks if she isn't tired. But Zenith thinks her mother is the one who must be tired. Torin tells Zenith that it's been a long time, and Zenith greets him back with a smile, saying she's glad he's here because she needs something from him, leaving Torin completely stunned. Now in the library, Torin offers to talk over tea, but she insists this is the quietest place in the house and she already had enough to drink on her way here. Torin points out that ever since she was young, she's had a unique interest in books and wasn't like other children. Zenith smiles, saying that to deal with unfamiliar situations, one must gather information, and for that, reading books is essential. He finally asks her what she brought him here for, noting that she seems quite serious. She sighs and tells him that she needs information about Philin's family. He's completely startled, prompting her to ask him to keep his voice down. He asks her why she would need such information in the first place. She says she can't tell him that. Torin shakes his head, saying he can't tell her anything. Having random information about noble families is dangerous. She shoots him a sharp look and asks if Philin's family has some kind of secret they don't want to disclose. Torin is silent. She asks again, wondering why he refuses to tell her anything. She begins her dramatic act, saying it feels like her brother doesn't trust her at all. She looks at him, threatening that if he won't tell her, she'll resort to other methods. She's heard that there are underground organizations that sell information for money. Torin slams the bookshelf, furious. He makes it clear she must never go to a place like that. Does she even understand how dangerous it is? If an elegant lady like her is ever spotted there, her reputation would be tarnished. She shouldn't ever think about going there again. But Zenith smirks, saying now it depends on him whether she remains an elegant lady or not. Torin is literally choking on her cunning. He gets all riled up, asking if she's really blackmailing him. She calmly turns to leave, saying that in that case, their talk is over. Torin knows she won't listen to him, so he calls out for her to stop. He finally gives in and agrees to tell her. She chuckles, saying he could have just told her this sooner. He doesn't really understand why she's asking, but he tells her anyway. He explains that the Northern Territories, like their own family and Philin's, are outside the capital's central management reach, so they remain outdated. Especially Philin's household, which is deep in the mountains, making communication with the outside world very difficult. Philin's family manufactures weapons and armor, but nobody can buy them except their own family. Zenith asks if they manufacture anything else. Torin says they produce a small amount of medicine and herbs, but their annual harvest and production is very limited, so their profits aren't enough to trade with other regions. She realizes it must be related to their economic situation. She then asks if he can tell her about Philin's parents as well. He says her father is typical and conservative, while her mother is a kind woman. Zenith already knows that Philin's mother never goes against her husband's words. She thanks Torin, saying the information was very useful. He then reminds her not to dare go to that dangerous place. She salutes him playfully, saying okay, sir. He then warns her not to sell the information to buy jewelry, asking if she's not actually planning to blackmail someone, right? She grows cold and tells him that she already said she won't do anything. Nervous, he quickly agrees, saying yes. He knows she's really smart and will keep it a secret, but his trust issues are bothering him. So he suggests they write a pledge, only then will he be able to relax. At this, she rolls her eyes and starts throwing a fit at him. Now, we see Zenith outside as she thinks to herself that Philin will have to overcome a lot of obstacles. It won't be easy for her to convince her family, which is why Zenith must convince the other party Harvin. She approaches the customer's stall, but it turns out to be Harvin. He's surprised to see her and asks how she got here. Zenith mocks him, saying he seems to be doing quite well just standing here dawdling around while her friend's life is falling apart. Philin, in her head, thinks oh no, she's overslept again. All disheveled, she realizes it's Sunday today, and it hits her hard that she has a tea party to attend. All her worries dissolve in an instant as she rushes to get ready. Now fully dressed, she reminds herself that she can't keep shedding tears over Harvin. She's determined to have fun with her friends today and forget all about the heartache. She's genuinely excited to eat sweets, cakes, and indulge in laughter. Peeking at the table, she wonders if she's arrived too late, but then she sees Clara is already there as well. Just as Philin is about to enter and apologize for being late, she flinches. She overhears them talking. They're whispering that it seems like Philin has gotten herself a lover. Catherine confidently states that it's obvious Philin must have gotten one, considering she was crying all night yesterday. But Clara has had enough. She tells them to stop and demands to know what made them say such a thing. Catherine, smug, tells her to just hear her out. She reminds them that yesterday, all of them had returned to the academy in a carriage except Philin. She was the only one who came back much later, arriving just before the dormitory gates were about to close. That delay, Catherine says, is reason enough. It wasn't even raining, so what excuse could she have? They start mocking her. They laugh, asking what could have possibly caused her delay. They don't hold back, and their taunts sting. Philin turns back, then suddenly starts to run. All sorts of worries swarm her head. It really seems like they found out. She hadn't expected them to figure it out so quickly. She's already been sad and depressed over everything that happened with Rebecca, but right now, it feels like it's all happening again. She truly feels happiest when she's with Harvin, but immediately after, she drowns in her own worries. That's why, that day, she turned her face away from him. Now she falls to her knees, wondering if it's really going to end like this. She silently begs someone, anyone to help her. On the other side, Harvin is tense. He asks what has happened to Philin. Zenith tells him bluntly that Philin is suffering a lot, and it hurts her heart to see it. Harvin is stunned. Zenith says Philin surprised him a lot last time too. But Zenith doesn't stop there. She glares at him. She asks if he really thinks she's joking. Philin is truly suffering. Harvin protests, saying she can't just blame him for everything. He's trying to find a solution. He's doing what he thinks is best for her. Zenith scoffs. For how long, she asks, is he planning to keep thinking? By the time he finds a solution, Philin might have already found a new man. Then she changes the subject. She asks him if he wants to hear a story, one that happened a long time ago. There was once a king who dreamed of ruling an empire the size of 3 continents. On his journey, he came upon a land whose entrance was marked by a temple. Inside that temple was a tombstone made of a mysterious material. The tombstone was surrounded by a thin thread, tied into a knot. The legend said that the person who could untie the thread would rule over all beings in that land. Now, she asks him what does he think the king did. Harvin answers that the king probably started trying to untie the knot after reading the legend. Zenith says he's wrong. The king used his sword to cut the thread. She asks him what the purpose of her story was. Then she makes her point. The purpose was to show that one can choose how they solve their problems, either by following the rules or by finding an answer within themselves. She throws a knife down by his side, making her message clear. He can think of this as her trying to guide him or simply as a request. She's asking him for information. Information about his family, their territory, the trade situation. She wants him to write down everything that the manufacturing firm talked about. Harvin is baffled. He says he can't just tell her all those things. But Zenith presses on. She says he claims to love Philin, yet he's hiding his background from her. Meanwhile, Philin is about to lose all her family and friends because of him. And he'll walk away unscathed. He grows worried, unsure whether what she's saying is true. But Zenith grows angry. She tells him this is reality. Sure, he might get mocked a little here and there, but what about Philin? Has he not realized that the two of them live in different worlds? And does his dumbass even understand why she didn't keep him that day? He grits his teeth, trembling now. He asks, if she's so against their relationship, then why isn't she just telling him to leave Philin in the end? After all, Philin might get hurt because of him. Zenith answers that if he breaks up with Philin, she'll become a living dead soul. But since he's already gone and seduced their pretty princess, he needs to take responsibility. And if he can't even do that, then he doesn't deserve to be anywhere near Philin. Zenith returns earlier than expected. As soon as she arrives, she is called over by Mary and Clara. Mary asks if she just got back, and upon seeing them, Zenith immediately asks if something has happened. Mary sighs and says that unfortunately, there are already rumors going around. This makes Zenith's eye twitch. Clara then explains that during today's tea party, the ladies had been catching up on what happened at yesterday's picnic. Someone made a comment suggesting that Philin had gotten herself a man. To clear up the misunderstanding, Clara told them it wasn't true that Philin had arrived late and in tears because of a dispute with Zenith. That, thankfully, helped dissolve the rumor before it could spread further. Still, it had all been rather absurd. The good thing, Clara adds, is that Philin wasn't there to hear any of it. Zenith looks truly unsettled, but she thanks Clara for covering for Philin. Clara brushes it off, saying it's no big deal. After all, that's what friends are for. But Zenith bows to her, saying that now they owe her big time. She thinks to herself how lucky they were to have Clara at that party. If not for her, things could have gotten messy, and Philin might have ended up like Rebecca. That thought makes Zenith genuinely angry. Meanwhile, on the other side, Harvin groans in frustration. He thinks he was just too naive. Why hadn't he realized any of this sooner? After hearing Rebecca's story, he completely forgot that all the young ladies live in a different world. It was his own fault. He had been too absorbed in his own suffering. He's certain Philin must have gone through so much because of him, trying so hard to face everything alone. He thinks to himself that he's not even qualified to stand next to Philin. But even so, he's now made up his mind not to let go of her hand again. The next morning in Philin's room, Philin appears dazed as she sees Zenith walk in. Zenith asks why she's looking so spaced out. Philin prays that her maid didn't tell Zenith anything, and she mutters that maybe this is the last time she'll have to see Zenith's rude behavior. Zenith scoffs, saying that it seems like Philin's doing just fine after all. She's angry again. She expected to find a weeping corpse, considering how much Philin had cried non-stop. That remark only makes Philin angrier. She shouts that even after hearing all the rumors, Zenith didn't come to console her, she just came to make fun of her instead. Shouldn't she have been a little concerned, after everything? After all, they've been friends for so long. Philin says that if Zenith is just here to mock her, she can leave. Zenith sighs and asks if Philin is really going to give up for good. Is she truly giving up after telling her not to let others look down on her? But oh no, Philin throws a napkin at her. She shouts back, saying yes, she's done with Harvin. After all, things were going to end between them no matter what. She starts crying, admitting that she knows she's immature. Zenith looks at her seriously and tells her that it's not over yet, she should read this before shedding more tears. Philin looks at the item Zenith holds out, and her eyes widen as she realizes it's all written in Harvin's handwriting. Zenith explains that she met him a few days ago and got all the important information from him. There's enough detail in there that it could help her move forward with a marriage of convenience. Philin rushes forward and hugs Zenith, asking if she really thinks it's going to work. Zenith hesitates but then starts patting her back. She tells Philin that what people want is qualification, justification, and reputation, and if those are the things they require, she'll help her achieve them. She adds that she hopes Philin stays the same in the future too, as the same brave, yet immature, person. Now we see Philin lying on the bed naturally. Someone's bound to come down with a fever after crying so much. Her maid is quietly relieved that Zenith and she have already made up. Zenith casually mentions to Linda that Philin seemed mad, so she's going to leave now. But Linda asks if she could at least fix her hair before going. Zenith reassures her that it's fine since she's heading to her own room anyway. As she's leaving, Zenith calls out to Philin, thanking her. She sighs and says that if Philin is really that grateful, she better start getting ready, otherwise, she'll be too embarrassed to admit she's her friend. Philin starts shouting at her, flustered, and Zenith finds her reaction completely adorable. Then we see that Zenith is called over by Taylor, who stands frozen in surprise at the sight of her. Zenith greets her casually, but Taylor says she came to see Philin. Everyone had heard that the two of them got into an argument, and there were all sorts of misunderstandings about what happened between them. Taylor makes it clear she didn't believe any of those rumors, but Zenith casually explains that everything is back to normal after a little wrestling match. Philin hit her pretty hard since she was really angry. Everyone is stunned to hear this, but Zenith just smiles. She says she can tell everyone seems a bit worried about them, so she's planning to host a party, just a little get-together to show their appreciation. After that, Zenith takes her leave, while the girls remain frozen, still unable to process what they just heard. The idea that the two of them actually threw punches at each other is shocking, but one of them starts to gush that Zenith seems really cool and that she'd like to get to know her better. Catherine immediately scolds her to get a hold of herself and stop blushing like an idiot. Now at Harvin's shop, the two lovebirds finally meet again. Philin tells him she's sorry for leaving without offering any explanation, but he says it should be him apologizing for not understanding her intention sooner. Zenith clears her throat loudly, suggesting they save their heartfelt reunion for later when they're alone. She called them today for a reason. She's planning to explain everything and go over their plans for the future since Philin never got the chance to read the letter. Harvin decides to start by explaining his father's situation. His father had originally planned to expand trade with both Nox and Dahlia. In the end, he managed to secure the right to transport goods through the Ashuta Duchy. Zenith elaborates for Philin's sake. Transfer gates are ancient magical artifacts inherited from a long-gone civilization. They're found in the Ashuta Duchy, and with the gate's power, merchants can go back and forth between locations without having to cross the mountains. Philin notes that there must be a lot of people who'd want to use them, but such gates usually come with strict limitations. Only a set number of people are allowed per day. That's what makes Harvin's family securing that passage so impressive. But Zenith adds that, as expected, it's not all smooth sailing. Their merchant guild's final destination is Nox. Originally, they're supposed to cross the gate, then the Isai River, and finally reach Nox. If they trade directly with the Quint Merchant Group in O'Brien, it results in the largest profit margin for them. However, due to the many restrictions in place, they often have to sell their goods to local Nox merchants instead. Now Zenith poses a question to Philin. Who does she think is making the biggest profit from all of this? Philin, confused, suggests maybe Dahlia or Harvin's father. But Zenith explains that even if Dahlia charges a toll for using the gate, that fee is still insignificant compared to the profit Nox earns from the transit trade. As everyone knows, Nox and Dahlia don't exactly get along, and Dahlia wasn't pleased with this setup. So they started charging an additional service fee to merchants passing through the gate. Nox didn't stay quiet either. They demanded extra benefits in return. Even with those added perks from Nox, it's still hard for small and medium-sized merchant groups like theirs to make a decent profit. There are even arguments within the duchy about whether to continue this trade at all. For now, they've decided to wait, as the Merchant Association is in the middle of negotiating with Dahlia. Zenith groans, wondering aloud what any of this has to do with her and Harvin. She asks them to listen closely and leans over to whisper something into Philin's ear. A few days later, a suspicious-looking man is wandering around aimlessly. Another man notices him and yells for someone to catch him. The strange guy panics and starts running, only to bump into a lady and knock her to the ground. She calls out his behavior as rude. Philin rushes to the woman's side and asks if she's hurt. Watching from the side, Zenith smiles, glad to see that their plan is unfolding just as intended. Philin asks her to hold her hand and try to stand. She is acting with utmost sincerity while the lady thanks Philin, though it appears she has hurt her leg. Philin gently says that it seems her ankle might be injured, so she will do a quick check on its condition. The lady is genuinely surprised to see Philin know how to handle this and urges her to get up or else her dress will get dirty. But Philin seems truly concerned, worried that her ankle might be seriously hurt. She gets an idea. If the lady doesn't have a carriage, how about they take her own carriage instead? The lady appears deeply moved by Philin's courtesy. As they begin to talk, the lady introduces herself as Margaret and asks for Philin's name. Philin tells her. Margaret expresses hope that they will meet again formally in the future. Philin beams, saying that she's only doing what she believes she should, so Margaret doesn't need to feel sorry. In fact, it would have made her truly happy just to be able to help, even a little. Margaret is deeply impressed by her way of speaking. Finally, the carriage arrives. Philin gently tells her to be careful so she doesn't further hurt her ankle, and even once she's home, it would be best to apply a cold compress. She adds that she will also inform the guards about the hooligans. Margaret thanks her again and assures her that she will never forget today's help. Philin then turns to Harvin, who has disguised himself as the coachman. She softly tells him that she will leave the rest of the matters in his hands. He nods, thinking to himself that she has quite a bold side. After they leave, Zenith, who is observing from behind, remarks that Philin was quite good at acting. Philin quickly rushes to her, asking if she made any mistakes, but Zenith tells her that it was amazing. Philin is relieved and really glad. She then asks Zenith what they are going to do next. Zenith tells her that for now, they will wait because soon, Margaret will try to repay her help at Harvin's store. Philin is all excited, saying that she got an invitation from Margaret for a tea party. Zenith thinks that's great and asks what time she's supposed to go. Philin tells her it's today at 3 o'clock. She's visibly terrified, knowing that if she gets caught, it won't end with just a few slaps. Her heart is pounding like crazy. Zenith sighs, saying that the way she's acting is starting to worry her and asks if she really wants to give up. But Philin quickly replies that's not what she meant. Even if she fails, crying over it because she couldn't do anything would be even worse. Zenith smiles at her, thinking that there's truly nothing Philin needs to worry about. She is a kind young lady who hasn't been tainted by the world. From what she has seen, it's hard for others to genuinely respect their elders, but Philin does this effortlessly. Philin begins repeating Zenith's words to herself while Harvin watches, thinking that she's good at other things too. He then says to Philin that it's already time and they should leave. She asks him to let her take a quick glance in the mirror. Harvin can see how determined she is. She's wearing a sky blue dress, the color she knows his mother likes most, and even though she's this nervous, she's trying her best to be brave. It makes him feel a little embarrassed. She scoffs at him, saying that if he's that embarrassed, he'd better play his part properly too, because she doesn't like him yet, but she doesn't want to see tears in Philin's eyes again either. Harvin responds that she should cut him some slack, as he wants her happiness more than anything else. But Zenith is quick to interject, saying she's sure he can prove that through his action. Philin calls out to both of them, saying that she will be leaving now. She asks Harvin if she doesn't look silly. Harvin, ever the love-struck one, says that she looks beautiful. They then see her off. Now, they all begin to believe that Philin will do her job well and that it's their turn to fulfill their roles too. Harvin asks Zenith what she's planning to do. She tells him that she is going to send a little key to Torin, while poor Torin, on the other side, can already sense that a thunderstorm is heading his way. At Harvin Mansion, Harvin thinks to himself that he is certain this will work for Philin. He takes out his diary to write something, but just then, he notices that his father and uncle have arrived. His uncle is here to discuss some trade matters with his father. Harvin's father casually asks him if there is anything special in the stores these days. Harvin replies that there isn't much. His father then reminds him that it's crucial not just to chase profits but also to set trends, and emphasizes that he should always listen to his customers. Harvin's uncle takes the diary from him and sits down, curious to see what he is writing. He even asks Harvin's father to have a look at it. In the diary, Harvin has written a proposal to create a new trade route between Nox and Dahlia. His father, somewhat surprised, asks him since when he started writing things like this and having such ambitious ideas. He questions Harvin if he intends to open a trade route through Torian. Harvin responds that yes, that is his plan. His father admits that it is a novel idea but points out there's a reason everyone bows their heads at the gate. If it were that easy, he would have already tried it himself. Harvin agrees with him but explains that people have become too dependent on the gate. Because of this dependency, they have never considered invading the Torian Mountains, even though Dahlia and Nox always suffer losses. Harvin insists that new trade routes are essential for the future of their family. His father asks him if he understands the risk that if he fails, he will be thrown out. Harvin knows this all too well, which is why he asks his father to help him build a large sum of money. In 3 years, he plans to cross the Torian Mountains. His father then asks him what exactly he means by build up, but Harvin avoids the question and asks to be excused for now. His uncle comments to Harvin's father that it seems Harvin has grown up a lot. His father agrees, saying that Harvin has developed quite the ambition. It will take time, but as he said, it is worth trying. Harvin himself thinks that this is exactly the kind of thing Philin would say, and suddenly, he finds himself missing her deeply. Meanwhile, Zenith is now being greeted. From the way she is being received so warmly, she can immediately tell that Philin must have gotten a good night's sleep. They decide to chat while having breakfast together. Philin asks Zenith if she has written a letter to Terran and what he said the last time. Zenith casually replies that there was nothing special, and shifts the topic, saying they should now talk about her tea party instead. She tells Philin that it was really nice, and they even ask her to stay until dinner. She laughs, saying that they had even given her a hat, which makes her think that Harvin's taste must really resemble his mother's. She sighs, adding that all of it is fine, but Harvin injured his ankle. However, she's already prepared for situations like this. Instead, she is planning to be very nice to the Baroness. Zenith advises her to take it slow and suggests that she should first give a return gift to Harvin's mother, a small, girly present that would make her smile. Zenith watches her, thinking to herself that she truly possesses the charm to make people adore her. In the end, she wasn't even able to push her away or leave her alone. From the start, she had been involved. Zenith had always known there was something special about her, especially after learning that she was dating Harvin. She says to her that if she is done having fun, then they should go study now, as she needs to focus on her studies too. This sudden reminder strikes Phil and she realizes that she hasn't completed her homework yet. On the other side, Margaret receives news that she has gotten a present, and it is from Philin. Margaret is genuinely touched when she sees the gift. The letter says that Philin came across some flowers that looked exactly like her. They carry a delicate scent, just like Margaret's. Philin sent them to her, wanting to share the warmth of the flowers with her. Now we see that Philin is teasing Zenith, reminding her that she told her to give a good gift to Margaret. She knew that Margaret liked lilies, so she sent her that. But then Philin hears a few ladies talking nearby, saying she has no shame, proudly declaring she has a man. This makes Philin incredibly nervous, wondering if the rumors have already begun to spread. However, Zenith reassures her there's nothing to worry about, as there are no strange rumors circulating about her. She already explained the situation to the girls. Philin asks Zenith how she even managed to do that, considering she doesn't attend social gatherings. Zenith tells her that it wasn't her, it was Clara. Just at that moment, Clara also arrives, asking the two of them if they have patched things up. Zenith thinks to herself that it's all thanks to Clara, and both she and Philin feel sorry for making her worry all the time. Clara then adds there should be no fighting, as it's really good to see them all together like this. She grabs Philin's hand, saying they shouldn't keep standing in the hallway and should head to class if they wish to sit. This small gesture makes Philin really happy. Finally, the lesson concludes, and Philin feels exhausted beyond words. Zenith remarks to her that she needs to pay more attention to her studies. Then Zenith is called by Esther, who tells her that it has been long. Zenith greets her too, while Philin stands stunned to see her. Zenith asks Esther if she is doing well, as from her appearance, it seems like she is holding up. Esther says she is trying to be fine because she needs to attend Rebecca's memorial service. But the truth is, she has heard weird rumors about Zenith and got worried, that's why she came to see her. Zenith assures her that for her, baseless rumors are nothing more than the air she breathes every day. Esther says that seeing her like this puts her mind at ease. She would have liked to talk more, but she now needs to go as she has an appointment. Zenith also nods and says goodbye. Now Philin rushes to Zenith, asking her about the tea that's brewing. How does she even know Esther? Zenith tells her it was by chance and asks why she's making such a fuss. Philin shouts that it's because Esther is considered one of the prettiest girls at the academy. Zenith is completely clueless, saying she has never heard that before. Philin begins bombarding her with questions, mockingly reminding her of how she was asking things while her childhood friend was in tears. Zenith sighs and says Philin really needs to stop being so obsessed with her. She tells her that she met Esther during the funeral procession, the day Rebecca's body was taken back to Knox. She didn't wish to see the body, so she offered Esther a few words of consolation. But Philin insists there's no way Zenith could offer words of comfort. Zenith agrees that might be true, but to Esther, those words might have felt like consolation, so there's no need to correct her. Zenith then tells her to stop talking nonsense and go read the literature, sending her off to her room since she's going to meet Margaret soon. Philin cries out that at this rate, she's going to get a cramp in her brain. Now in her room, she is reading when she suddenly asks Zenith why Rebecca died so suddenly. Zenith questions why she even needs to know this. Philin thinks that it can't be for the same reasons the rumors say. Only those who don't truly know Rebecca would say such things. It's no different from saying that someone dies one day, and everyone claims it was because she was rejected by a man. Zenith never knew that Philin understood Rebecca this deeply. Philin then reveals the truth that Rebecca helped her meet with Harvin. Zenith, stunned, asks her how. Philin says that it was Rebecca who picked up the letter she dropped, the one meant for Harvin. Zenith scolds her to be more careful, saying that with her absent-mindedness, it's no surprise they could have gotten into the same kind of accident. Rebecca was really a kind girl. That day, we see Philin searching like crazy for her letter when Rebecca asks her if that's what she's looking for. She had Harvin's letter. Philin is all worried, afraid that Rebecca has already read it, but Rebecca assures her that she's only here to help. She says that to understand someone else's feelings, you have to meet them, and if Philin wants to know more, she can tell her over tea. Ever since that moment, Rebecca helped her go out with Harvin. Zenith sighs, thinking that the culprit all along was Rebecca, and had she still been alive, she would have definitely kicked her for being so silly as to encourage someone else's love life. Philin shouts at Zenith not to insult Rebecca, saying she helped because she had been in the same situation herself. The truth is, Rebecca had a lover too. Zenith asks her if she's certain. Philin confirms that she even met him, but she doesn't know his name because he never told her. Zenith is confused, trying to understand how Rebecca hid her lover's identity even from Esther. It was 3 days before Rebecca's death. The two of them didn't look nervous at all. Rather, They seem to be deeply engaged in a secret relationship. Seeing the two of them happy made Philin fascinated and envious. She thought to herself that she wanted a love like that too. As she already said, it's not true that Rebecca died because of rejection. So now the real question arises: if she didn't die for a man, then why did she die? Could it be that her father found out about her lover? But Esther had told them that Rebecca was positive she could convince him. And if she needed the consent of her lover's side, then what kind of person was this man? If she really needed their approval, then he must have been someone with higher status than her. Philin sighs that she should have really found out the guy's name if only to throw a fit. But Zenith smacks her, asking if she really thinks she's in any position to worry about others. She tells her to stop concerning herself with death and focus instead on what she should be doing for herself. She can do her part after reading all the material given to her, while Zenith is all set to find out exactly why Rebecca died. We see that in the classroom, Philin and Zenith are studying while the teachers remind them to focus on the important parts. The scene then shifts to Mary, who is getting upset over not being able to see Philin much these days. Philin promises her that she will now attend all the gatherings. Meanwhile, Zenith is enjoying her tea at the campus library. She is reading, and she notices that there is more than enough data regarding Rebecca's death. The more she learns, the more she begins to doubt that it was a suicide. But again, even Rebecca's closest friend, Esther, had no idea. Zenith truly doesn't know what she should do anymore. Then we see that Philin comes to Zenith. She is here with Torin's reply. Zenith thinks to herself that it took him quite a while to respond. She reads the letter. He says to her that the weather has been really great these days, and asks if she is doing well at the academy. He apologizes for the late reply, saying that her letter really shocked him since she never told him the reason behind it. He writes that he hasn't even been able to eat properly out of worry. She can practically hear his voice through the words. He then adds that, aside from everything else, he's been thinking. He says that the fact that their family and Philin's family are developing the Tauren Mountains Training Rangers to form a mountain patrol is quite significant. It fulfills both the mission and the expedition dream while reducing resource consumption. The idea is great, but he is also certain of what their financial situation is like, as well as the opinions of their father and his vassal. But his biggest concern is that their father must hear all this directly from him. And what frustrates him the most is that every time he gets involved with her, he ends up at the risk of tearing his own hair out. Still, regardless of all that, he has decided to trust her word when she says she would never tarnish their family name. He adds that he will contact their father first and will let her know later. Philin asks her that why didn't she ask this to her father herself, as he is not the kind to oppose her ideas. Zenith knows this, but she also knows that HWR Vassal will laugh it off if she goes there to present this idea. Zenith sighs, saying that they will at least pretend to listen if Taran is the one presenting. She then tells Philin that it's her turn to do her part, leaning in to whisper something into her ear. At Harvin's place, his father asks Philin if the food suits her taste. Philin responds that the food is indeed very good, and she doesn't know how to properly thank them. Harvin's father says he was surprised to learn that she already knew about Harvin. Philin agrees, remarking that no one could have predicted what might have happened to her if it weren't for him. Harvin admits that he's glad she and her friend are safe. Harvin's father is pleased that his son could be of help, especially since the streets around here can be quite difficult to navigate. Philin agrees and says she feels sorry that Zenith had to suffer alongside her as well. Harvin's father then asks if she is close with Zenith. Philin explains that yes, she is the fourth daughter of a count, her childhood best friend, and she hails from Lintbell. Hearing this name shocks Harvin's uncle, prompting him to ask if she's referring to Zenith's family. Lottie's the uncle says yes, as they are known as the first shield of the continent. He met Zenith's father once when he was very young and recalls him as the most famous and incredible swordsman in Haleium. Philin becomes very happy to learn that he is friends with Zenith's father, but Harvin's uncle quickly clarifies that this isn't exactly the case. He merely looked up to him and doubts Zenith's father would even recognize him now. Harvin's father lightly scolds the uncle, calling him Tummy, and says that he doubts Zenith's father would be able to recognize him with his current build. Harvin's mother whispers that the uncle had always wanted to be a knight, but his skills weren't quite up to par. Although he was knighted, it was only in name and ceremony. He turned out to be much better at trade and business, and he has been a great support to their family, for which they are deeply grateful. Philin feels truly happy. The more she learns about Harvin's family, the more impressed she becomes. She wonders if that is the reason Harvin is such a warm and kind person. Harvin's uncle suddenly cries to Philin, saying that if Zenith's father is looking for a middle-aged man, he's terrified. Philin smiles and tells him that, with proper training, he could become a good knight, and offers to speak to the count about him. Harvin's uncle laughs it off, saying that only his knees might be a good fit. She laughs too, joking that in that case, he might as well become a ranger. The moment the word ranger is mentioned, both Harvin's father and Harvin himself turn gloomy. Philin explains that the plan is not yet finalized, but a small group with basic military skills is being assembled for a mountain expedition. Zynt had asked her to subtly pass this information on to them. However, Philin starts to feel worried, wondering if this plan has already been finalized. Zynt reassures her that she doesn't need to worry, as this is just the beginning. Meanwhile, on the other side, Harvin's father falls into deep thought. Now that everything is done outside, Philin says to them that she had a really good time today and truly doesn't know how to thank them. Harvin's mother brushes it off, saying it was nothing more than a simple family dinner and that she really likes Philin. She adds that if Philin isn't too busy, she would love to attend a poetry-themed tea party together. Philin responds that she is more than happy to spend time with her, as she also likes her a lot. After that, they exchange goodbyes. Philin and Harvin nod to each other as they say farewell, and as the carriage begins to depart, Harvin's mother calls him to come inside while he stands there silently watching it disappear into the distance. Now on the other side, Harvin's father says to his brother that it seems the ranger Philin mentioned was talking about the Tulane Mountains. That reminds Harvin's uncle of something Harvin said a few days ago. Harvin's father adds that he also noticed Harvin perk up when Philin brought up the topic. The only remaining problem in the Northern Territory is the source of resources. They want to dig mines and produce weapons, especially now that their political influence has waned with the war's end, but they still don't have enough information to move forward. Harvin's uncle asks what he means by proceed and whether he truly plans to pursue Harvin's plan after previously dismissing it as unreliable. Harvin's father says things are different now. He wouldn't normally permit mountain development in their territory, but with Lintbell involved, they might actually get something out of it. Harvin's uncle is impressed to see Harvin's father being this ambitious. If lack of information is the main issue, he says he has a solution. They should speak with Zynt, as she should know something. Seeing Harvin's father's expression, he quickly adds that of course, they won't ask her to meet directly, instead, they will get help from Harvin's mother. Just then, Harvin's mother appears, asking if they want her to go meet Zynt. She says she'll go, but only if they promise her one thing, that whatever happens, they must keep Philin from being harmed. They agree, though they quietly wonder if Philin might be her long-lost daughter. Now Harvin's mother is at a cafe trying to calm herself. She's worried, wondering what kind of girl Zynt might be. But she reassures herself that if Philin is her friend, then she must be kind like her. And besides, Zynt comes from such a prestigious family. Still, here she is, trying to extract information from such delicate ladies. Finally, Philin arrives. Seeing her, Harvin's mother lights up with delight. Philin asks how long she has been waiting and says she should have come earlier. Harvin's mother replies that it's alright, she hasn't waited long. Philin then introduces Margaret to Zynt, but seeing Zynt's cold expression, even Margaret starts to stutter. Zynt gives a nod and says she's glad to meet her, which causes Margaret to imagine all sorts of things about her. Zynt asks Margaret if she can sit, saying her legs are really tired. Margaret quickly agrees, saying of course she can. Philin whispers to Margaret that Zynt may seem cold, but she's not a bad person at all. Margaret, trying to be polite, offers to let Zynt order whatever she would like to drink. In response, Zynt orders 3 cups of coffee, tarts, desserts, and, to cool off, a glass of wine. Margaret is shocked out of her mind, while the maid quietly notes it all down. Margaret then says that Philin has told her a lot about Zynt and asks if she could share more about her region, as she's curious where the two of them grew up. Zynt gets a little annoyed, saying not to even get her started. The place is cold and miserable, surrounded by nothing but mountains. If the people there aren't soldiers, they're hunters or herbalists. She almost mutters to herself, saying now they're even trying to recruit more soldiers. Margaret comments that it must be tough for a delicate girl like her. Zynt scoffs and says that the reason her father is recruiting more soldiers behind her back is because he always says it's none of her business. She mutters that he thinks she doesn't know anything, but she has overheard him talking about gathering hunters to investigate the mountains. Margaret says that Zynt is really insightful and adds that surely the Count will soon come to see that side of her. But she also says it can't be helped, it's her father's land, and he ought to stick to what he knows. Suddenly jumping into mountain development would only waste money. Margaret thinks that Zynt is definitely short-tempered, but at least she's getting all the information she needs from her. Zynt slams her cup on the table, and Philin accidentally blurts out that she's afraid the man will bankrupt his entire family. Seeing the spilled tea, Margaret gets nervous. Zinth asks Philin if she's alright and tells her to go change, asking why she is always so careless. Margaret is shocked and slightly offended. Now back home, Zinth tells Margaret that she feels sorry for Philin. She's very clumsy and still behaves like a child. Margaret begins to understand things more clearly now. She remembers how surprised she was when Philin showed her the priceless necklace the Count gave her. It must have been a form of compensation for looking after Zinth, that scoundrel. While eating the tarts, Zinth remarks that they're not bad and wonders aloud if she should order more. Margaret says she's fine, but seeing Zinth's face smeared with cake, she tells her to go ahead and order if she likes, secretly wishing for Philin to return quickly. Zinth then intentionally slurps her tea loudly, making Margaret even more annoyed, but at the same time, she's relieved that her plan seems to be working out. Philin lies in bed, sick and looking utterly miserable. Zenith sighs at her, telling her to stop acting like she's dying. But Philin snaps back, telling her to shut up. She's like this because she was genuinely anxious yesterday. Zenith had completely surprised her by behaving that way in front of Margaret, and Philin admits she had no idea she would do such a thing. She knows Zenith did it on purpose. Zenith confirms it with a shrug, explaining that she only did it so that Margaret wouldn't suspect Philin of sharing any information. After all, if she acted like a spoiled brat, the comparison would naturally make Philin look like the better lady. Philin agrees, nodding thoughtfully. She had even noticed Margaret trying to keep her composure despite the situation. Still, Philin thinks she owes Zenith an apology. Zenith had gone out of her way to make herself look terrible just to make Philin shine in comparison. Zenith laughs, clearly amused by the idea. She says it wasn't necessary to impress anyone, but if Philin really feels that sorry, then she better get up and start doing her share of the work too. Just then, there's a knock at the door. Daisy's voice calls out, asking if Zenith is there. Daisy enters, handing her a letter. It's from Harvin. He writes that he heard Zenith had met his mother a few days ago, and today his mother relayed everything to his father. She had told him about the family and the whole ranger situation, which, to Harvin's surprise, seemed to have touched his father enough to finally make a decision. He's made up his mind to meet and go to Lintbell. Harvin admits he's shocked that things are unfolding just as they had hoped. For the first time, he dares to believe that something he once thought impossible might actually come true. He ends the letter with his thanks and a hope that she will continue to be polite. Zenith notices that Harvin's tone has become more formal than usual. She turns to Philin and informs her that Harvin's father has decided to meet them. Philin looks genuinely happy. Finally, they are going to meet Zenith's father. Still, Zenith thinks that despite everything, Philin needs to stay on good terms with Margaret. Margaret holds considerable influence in the family business because of her expertise in the arts, and that influence could be key in helping Philin and Harvin's marriage become a reality. Meanwhile, elsewhere, some knights are in the middle of training. Taryn is among them, focused but distracted. As he practices, his mind drifts to how much time has passed since he last wrote to his father. He knows this silence probably means everything is fine. He did write exactly what Zenith had instructed him to write, even though he's certain they'll never comply with her unrealistic requests. It feels foolish in hindsight, but it has always been like this since they were young. For some reason, he's always had a hard time saying no to her. He recalls a recent moment when he had told her not to go upstairs, reminding her that they weren't allowed there. He had even asked if she hadn't heard the warning. She told him she had, so he told her again to come down or risk getting into trouble. Zenith had called him a coward, which made him choke. He got angry. How dare she? After all, isn't he the one who's older? But she had just shrugged it off, saying that tower was going to be his one day, so they wouldn't get kicked out just for entering it. Besides, if they got caught, she would be the one punished, not him. So he could chill. Still, Taryn had insisted that if she was going, then he would go with her. That way, if the knights caught them and they got punished, they'd be in it together. Suddenly, someone approaches Taryn, telling him he's received a letter. He sighs, assuming it must be from Zenith trying to pester him again. But the knight tells him he's not sure it's from Heronley, that it came from his home. Taryn is taken aback. From home? He had been hoping everything would pass quietly, but his eyes widen as he reads the letter. Back at the Lintbell estate, Zenith is being formally welcomed. She asks the butler where Taryn is, and the butler informs her that he has already arrived. Taryn bursts into the hall, calling her name. He grabs her hand and begs her not to say anything, just follow him. Daisy and the butler exchange glances as the two hurry off. Taryn shows her the letter. Their father has written to him directly, instructing him to take an extended leave from knighthood training and to return home immediately. Something important has happened regarding Gia's letter. He looks tense, his shoulders stiff with unease. This is happening now finally. Zenith comments that it seems things have gone well. It took time, but it's perfect timing, and everything is going according to her plan. Terran freezes. He asks her what exactly she means by plan, and whether she's not afraid. If their father is asking him to take leave, it must mean something serious has happened. Zenith tells him to calm down. They don't know yet whether it's good or bad news, but Terran explodes. He's sure it's going to be bad. He's deeply disturbed. Is she really going to keep making him do things without telling him the reasons? He's done with it. He says he's not going to fall for her tricks anymore. She blinks, a little surprised, and asks if he thinks she's deceived him. He shouts at her what else is he supposed to think. To him, it seems like she doesn't care at all about anything in this world. He demands to know what this family even means to her. Does she see all of them as nothing but chess pieces for her to move around as she pleases? Is there anything at all that she truly cares about in this world? Her voice drops, but her glare only sharpens. She tells him that if she truly didn't care about him, she wouldn't have endured his tantrums all this time. She admits it must have caused him anxiety, but she warns him not to cross the line again. Now that he's done venting, she says it's her turn to show him something. She hands him a stack of documents, stating that she doesn't know exactly what kind of decision is being made over there, but she's certain their father will want his opinion. Everything he needs to know is inside. She adds that she's sure he must be tired of her, so she'll leave him alone. With that, she walks out and slams the door behind her. As the door clicks shut, Zenith regrets it instantly. She thinks to herself that she shouldn't have done that. She should have been more patient. She knows Terran isn't wrong. She's never truly considered them her real family. Just the thought gives her goosebumps. She knows the people here are different. They genuinely care about her. But the memories of her past life continue to hold her back. She finds it hard to trust, and that instinct has become a part of her survival. Still, that doesn't mean she doesn't care. Even if they aren't her original family, she still thinks of them as hers, the only people worth protecting in this strange world. She feels a deep sadness that Terran, of all people, couldn't believe in her. Back at Haleium, several girls are chatting when a lady arrives, excitedly announcing that she's done it. They've secured the best exhibition spot. The other ladies immediately begin praising her. She acts modest, brushing it off as nothing, and mentions that the princess is a fan of her work. This impresses the others even more. She goes on to say that the princess is incredibly beautiful up close. She looks like a goddess. Her blonde hair is unlike anything else, silky and smooth. She then name-drops Princess Laurel. Zenith notes the name with some surprise. It seems like Princess Laurel is far more famous than Princess Abigail. She's also heard that Laurel has been behaving badly not just in front of Nox, but also around others. Apparently, her reputation has finally caught up with her. Someone knocks lightly on the table. It's Esther. She remarks that it's been a while and says Zenith seems troubled, asking if she's alright. Zenith replies that she's just a little worried about the exhibition. Esther chuckles, saying she never thought anything could make Zenith nervous. But then again, this festival is very important. Zenith asks Esther if she'll be presenting anything. Esther shakes her head. She hasn't been able to make anything with everything that's been happening. Soon, she'll be attending Rebecca's memorial service. She had been working on something for her using cosmic flowers, Rebecca's favorite. Zenith remembers and says that Esther had told her about that a long time ago. Esther nods and says she wasn't able to attend the memorial earlier, but thankfully, she managed to get permission from her family this time. That makes Zenith wonder, does that mean Rebecca's father had previously forbidden her from going? She then asks Esther what happened to the copy of the poison bottle she had made. Esther explains that she plans to give it to Rebecca's mother during her visit. Her mother doesn't want to talk about the incident, but Esther believes that as parents, they deserve to know. Zenith reassures her that she's doing the right thing and that she doesn't need to feel guilty. She praises Esther's work and asks if she's creating it to honor her family. Zenith confirms with a quiet yes. Esther hadn't realized that Zenith was this skilled in needlepoint and asks what she's going to call her piece. Zenith picks up a pen and writes down the name. When Esther reads it, she freezes for a moment and asks if she's really planning to call it that. Zenith looks at her, confused. Esther quickly brushes it off, saying that it's just a bit tame for such a great work. She then playfully suggests they come up with a more exciting name. But seeing Zenith deep in thought, she relents and says they should go with that name. After all, it does sound kind of cute. Elsewhere, Harvin's father and uncle have arrived at the Lintbell estate and will soon enter the castle. The Count steps out to welcome the Baron, expressing gratitude that they were able to accept the visit on such short notice. The Baron is pleased by the reception. Then the Count turns his attention to Lottie's Harvin's uncle, who is practically gleaming with excitement. The Baron introduces Lottie's as his cousin, and it turns out that Lottie's and the Count had attended the same school year. The two old schoolmates greet each other warmly. The Count then invites them to come inside. They move to the sitting room, where tea is served. As they all settle in, the door to the room shuts behind them. The Festival of Juvenils is a celebration of creation, growth, love, and bloom. From the 29th to the 34th, exhibitions and concerts are held by the liberal arts students. Invitations are sent to the families, marking it as one of the most important events of the year for the young nobles. All the noble families are present, observing the exhibitions. Zenith's mother admires how all the girls here are truly talented. Enith is angry that Zenith didn't inform her she was taking part in such an event. She could have helped her. She warns Zenith not to embarrass the family. As they continue walking, Zenith's mother wonders aloud why so many people are gathered near Zenith's exhibition space. They approach and see her work. It is undeniably beautiful, and everyone is clearly impressed. But Enith flinches when she sees the title "Our Home." Enith begins to break down, internally panicking about why Zenith would choose such a title. But her mother, on the other hand, is deeply moved. She realizes that Zenith has always been a child who lived in her own world, and it makes her worry that Zenith may have felt unloved by them all this time. Enith immediately decides to purchase the artwork herself. There's no way she can let someone else buy it. Just then, Zenith's mother is called over by Philin, who is delighted to see her after so long. Zenith's mother compliments Philin, saying she has grown more beautiful. Philin then introduces her to Mary and Clara. Zenith's mother is taken aback to learn that Zenith has made such close friends. She's genuinely glad and expresses hope that Zenith doesn't cause them too much trouble. They assure her that's not the case. Zenith is amazing. Zenith's mother wonders where her daughter is, as she hasn't had the chance to see her yet. Clara suggests that Zenith must be busy receiving praise from other guests. Clara can tell that it seems like Zenith's mother isn't aware of just how popular Zenith is. On the other side of the venue, Zenith is surrounded by gifts. Several noble ladies approach, handing her flowers and expressing their admiration for her artworks. They say they've always wanted to be her friends. Zenith thanks them politely, and they ask her to wait next time they meet again. Now that the crowd has dispersed a little, Zenith is tired. She's confused about why so many noble ladies are acting like this today. Suddenly, someone calls her name again, startling her. It's Esther. Esther asks if she startled her. Zenith replies that it's alright, she just doesn't enjoy noisy places. Esther remarks that everyone loves her art so much that they simply want to meet her and give her compliments. She hands Zenith a small box of cookies that she baked herself, saying they might seem trivial compared to all the extravagant flower bouquets she's received. But Zenith assures her that they're not trivial at all. Esther then explains that she'll be leaving soon to attend Rebecca's memorial service. Zenith bids her a safe journey and waves goodbye. Left all alone, Zenith reflects on how Esther must have many worries of her own. But she, too, has her burden. She wonders if Taryn has already arrived at Lintbell. She regrets speaking so harshly to him the last time. She really needs his cooperation at Lintbell Castle. Meanwhile, Taryn thinks that this is no time for tea. The man Baron Yue saw earlier in the hallway is the one in charge of the garden system. Taryn is amused by the thought, how in the world did Zenith manage to get this man on her side? If outsiders are involved, then this is no game. He's deeply worried. What if their family ends up in trouble because of this? Now the Count arrives. He hopes Taryn had a safe trip and notes that he looks exhausted. Taryn brushes it off and immediately asks the Count what he meant by the letter he sent. The Count seems confused and says that they can talk about it later, but Taryn insists. He says he's perfectly fine and wants to know now. The Count admits he's not sure what the urgency is but complies. He tells Taryn that, at first, he thought those people were trying to swindle him, but the more he read into it, the less it felt like a scam. Taryn asks how Baron Yue came to know about the trade operations of the Rangers. The Count replies that Baron Yue said he heard it from Zenith, who. Now, we see that Lottie's tells the Baron that the plan will work after all. It's going to benefit Lintbell too. The Baron asks Lottie's if he truly thinks the deal is already sealed. Lottie's believes so. After all, they'll be sponsoring the Rangers group. But the Baron feels differently. The moment he stepped into Lintbell, he could feel it. The high mountains that surround the region and the harsh, cold weather have undeniably shaped the people into strong survivors. But that also means they're deeply wary of outsiders. Lottie's pouts, thinking that the Baron doesn't have to be so negative. He insists the Count might be a bit stoic, but in the end, they're just people like everyone else. The Baron, however, says Lottis clearly doesn't understand. If it weren't for Lattish himself, they would have been thrown out without even being served a cup of tea. It seems like the Count remembers Lattish from their school days. Otherwise, they wouldn't have even been granted the opportunity to present their proposal. In fact, the Baron is already experienced with several failed contracts. He knows the signs. Finally, at the Vassal meeting, the Count puts the matter on the table for discussion. One of the men immediately opposes the venture, stating that they don't even know if the Baron can be trusted. Another man agrees, citing the time and money they would lose. They believe it's better to handle their business themselves, without involving outsiders. Terran watches them. These are men who have lived in these lands their entire lives. They carry a deep pride in that. They don't feel the need for change, especially when it comes with risk. In that case, Terran presents his stance. He understands their hesitation, but he asks them to trust the Baron, whose business is well established in the capital. He emphasizes that with the Baron's involvement, Lintbell will finally gain access to new resources. After all, the North is falling behind compared to the capital. The room stirs. They seem to agree, but someone scoffs. The man jokes, asking if Terran truly believes this is enough. It's Philin's father. Another vassal turns to him, asking if he's being serious. Philin's father says the cries of Lintbell are falling into ruin. Their territories, nestled deep in the mountains, are so isolated that even sending letters has become a struggle. The capital feels so distant, it hardly feels like they belong to the same country anymore. He adds that his wife recently attended one event in the capital. She's doing well, but she was upset at how disconnected they are from the rest of the world. Not to mention, his son in the ministry has already informed him that the majority in the capital is convinced the North is heading toward collapse. The men here can do far more than just guard. If needed, they can gather herbs too. Someone interjects, arguing that gathering herbs isn't a soldier's duty. If they start assigning other work to soldiers, it'll only backfire. But Philin's father stands firm. He insists these soldiers need to combine both defense and exploration. If they fail to adapt, they'll be forced to sell their noble titles to the palace. Torijan becomes upset. He thinks Philin's father is being far too pessimistic. Lintbell and the North still haven't run out of reserves. Terran agrees they have reserves, yes, but that only means it's time to act. If they wait any longer, their chances of acquiring new resources will vanish. And even if the partnership fails, it will still bring fresh air into Lintbell. Torijan responds dryly. He says Terran is putting it all too nicely. All of this might also lead to nothing. They're not going to lend their names to fruitless ventures that could cost them everything they already have. He strongly opposes the plan. Terran sees that most of the room is not on his side. He feels sorry for Zenith, but he convinces himself that this might be for the better. Suddenly, Philin's father raises his voice. He asks the room if they're trying to say that, if Amal were to charge their borders with an army of 1,000, they would just surrender? The vassal members are startled. One of them asks what he's talking about, if he's implying they should retreat in the face of such a hopeless battle. Philin's father gets even more furious. He shouts that if that's their idea of survival, then they'll just run away and let Lintbell fall. The Count stands up and says that Lintbell don't know the meaning of retreat. Be a million, they are the first shield of the continent, and even if their enemies reduce them to dust, they shall not cross the Masla Canyon, and not to ask how, no matter what they have to stop them.